What's up, gang? Hey, it's Colton, Lindsay, live inside of my office doing the WGR Live. We're going to have BARRISON coming on, talking about real estate today.
There he is.
My
How you doing,
man.
my man? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Awesome, man. In 90 seconds or less, tell us a little bit about where you started and where you're at today with your business, my man.
Cool. Well, first off, Colton, thanks for having me. This is number 3 with you and I, so I appreciate that, bro. I really do. It's always a privilege. So, business. So 90 seconds, started in the business 18 years ago as of December 2nd, single agent. Didn't sell any houses for 6 months, got into coaching, sold 28 my last 6 months in my first year of my business. Things kept growing. 2014 was my last year as a single agent, selling 96 houses on my own just with an assistant. Decided to start a team, Infinity Real Estate Group. We were at that time in 2015, we were under a brokerage, formed a team, sold 141 houses between 5 of us in 9 months in 2015. 2016, grew that team up to 10 agents, and we sold 242 houses between 10 of us. And then I got my broker's license, and here we are today, live and excited and full of energy at the Infinity Real Estate Service Company here. So
awesome, cool. That's it. 90 seconds or less. For you guys that are watching, I know that watching live or replay on Facebook. I know y'all are addicted to your phone, so you're on your phone right now. The bottom, I need you to do a couple things. A, turn on your notifications. B, hit that share button, because this is a really cool conversation. So I want to talk about a couple things, Lee. Obviously, I want to talk about, like, why did you shift from single agent to team? And why did you shift from team to broker? What were some of the successes and the failures in there? But I also want to talk about, because I know you just did a podcast with your wife. I want to talk about, like, how does that dynamic actually help support and grow your business and grow your relationship together? So let's first start 2014. You did 96 homes or something like that. It's a shit ton of homes. Why did you shift to a team model after that?
Good question. So Colton, in 2014 had a rock solid year, and there was a guy that actually had a real job, and he basically wanted to get into real estate. He had a family member locally here that was in real estate, and she mentioned that, hey, you ought to go talk to Lee. And so basically he came to my office, and he said, basically, I'll just quit my job tomorrow and get severance pay for 6 months as I take my license, as long as I can sit with you every single day, and I'll be here, between 8 and 5, Monday through Friday. And I said, fair enough. So not knowing that he was actually going to show up, I thought he was just bullshitting me the whole time, but he actually did show up, suited and booted, and basically, watched me role play, watched me prospect, went on all my appointments with me, sat in negotiations and all that good stuff. And I think the reason why I went from single agent to more of a team atmosphere is because I got so much joy out of teaching somebody how to sell real estate. I mean, it was a big, big privilege at the time to work with him, because basically once he got into the business, I think he sold like 36 houses his very first year. Not to say that, that had everything to do with me, but I do feel that part of it, his success, I had something to do with. And so being that I had so much privilege coaching and training this young man, I felt like I told my assistant, well, let's go ahead and just hire 3 more and see where it takes us. And again, maybe it comes with age, Colton, but I think that the older I get, the less and less it's more about the production for myself or the money, but it's more about seeing breakthroughs take place in other people's business. And I may have had something to do with it. So that's basically why I went from single agent to real estate coach. And
so you're 18 years in the business. 2014 was 5 years ago. So it was like 13 years in the business when you're like, I want to make this shift. And it kind of came to you. You didn't seek it out. Is that right?
No. Yeah, it came to me. Didn't have any plans to do it at the time. But when I did it, I thought, wow, this feels really, really good.
Cool. Awesome. So have we known each other since 2013? Is that when I started
role playing
with you?
Yeah, I think so.
That's wild. It's amazing how time flies by and passes by.
Yeah,
so 96 units into 140 something units and then to 200 something units. Talk about that transition. What were some of the challenging parts of going from 96 to 200 plus units?
The challenging parts were, as a single agent, I mean, basically I didn't have a whole lot of responsibility, but showing up to work, prospecting, going on appointments, and getting contracts signed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So then the leadership aspect of becoming a leader, I had to learn that skill because it is a skill. I think, it's not something that people are naturally born to do. And so there was a lot of trials and a lot of errors involved in that process. But, again, with anything new that you're going to learn, you're going to have failures involved, and those failures weren't designed to break you. They're designed to make you grow. And again, there were some failures that were included, but obviously I'm blessed knowing that they happened, because otherwise we wouldn't be where we're at today. So
what was your biggest failure between 2013 and 2019?
Oh boy, I mean, how much time do we got on this podcast, bro? Oh God, geez, biggest failure. I think it comes down to myself. Not identifying people's motives, why they're in the business.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the big things that I had to get over or figure out, right? Because my main philosophy for 13 years as a single agent is just pound the phones, pound the pavement, and go off and kick ass in real estate. But after building a team and creating a company, I realized that I'm losing people, or I'm losing their attention, because of the fact that sometimes people don't want to sell 100 houses. Sometimes
Right.
people are more motivated by, spending more time with their family. Sometimes people are more motivated by other things instead of just financial freedom.
Yeah.
And not knowing that, not identifying that, not getting deeper with those people, is probably a really big mistake, because there's some people that have left my company because I didn't do that, but I recognize it, and now I'm here, and that's one of the first things that I ask while I'm interviewing an agent nowadays is, what motivates you? Why are you getting into this business?
Well, it's an interesting stage of business, because I say there's 5 levels in agents. Level 3 is where you're probably doing 96 deals a year, but you don't really have a team. It's you and a couple of assistants, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might be kind of a level 4 agent. Level 4 is where you okay, now you build a team, you're doing 150 deals, but you're still doing 70% of that volume yourself. Level 5 is now, okay, maybe we're doing 200 deals a year, but my team's doing 70, 80% of that. And it's this dynamic shift of managing the cash flow and developing those leadership skills, which leadership is really just an amazing salesperson, but it's very, very, it's a lot of work, right?
Yes, it is.
So how important are creating standards and kind of the culture and what is okay and not okay as the leader? How important is that when growing this?
It's huge, Colton. And by the way, if you haven't read the book, Leadership isn't for cowards. It's a great book to go out there and get, because it's brutally honest that it's not for cowards. I mean, it really takes a kinder spirit. It also takes, a faint heart in order to become a leader and be able to suck up all the sacrifice that's involved with that position. So anyways, your question was basically I'm sorry, tell me that question again.
The standards,
Yes.
like how important how important is it that you
Yes.
set a certain standard?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so standards is everything. Okay, you got to have standards, and the reason why you got to have standards, and the reason why we created our company, Colton, specifically, is because the industry in its whole doesn't have any standards, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like most brokers out there, God forbid, but they do allow their agents to come and go, not produce, and it's okay. There's no standard, right? And so, for instance, the reason why standards is so much of an important topic, and something that we've created here, and that I've decided to do is to implement, is because of the fact that, being that we're in a broken industry, the average agent in the United States right now sells 4 to 5 houses a year. The average shelf life of a real estate agent is 12 to 18 months, and they have nobody to turn to within their brokerage, because basically, just like me, when I got licensed, I walked into my office and they said, okay, there's your phone, there's your desk, go get them, Tiger. And it was like, right? So, and it's, unfortunately, it's like that. Here we are, getting licensed, thinking that we now can sell the most valuable asset that people own. And that's, without standards, you can't do that. And by the way, here's the thing, being that the average agent in the United States, 1.3, 1.6 million agents across the United States right now, are averaging 4 to 5 units per year. They're selling 4 to 5 houses per year.
Can you believe that, guys? Can you believe it?
It's stupid.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, and it's unfortunate. But yet the thing is that I don't tolerate that. You know what I mean? And so that's one of our standards. You know, I'm very, very blessed to say that our average per agent production in our office right now is about 14.5 units per agent. Okay, so. But then I go back to 2016 when we sold 242 houses between 10 of us. That's my goal. That's my goal. I think anybody and everybody out there should be able to at least sell 24 houses a year. We're talking 2 a month. Yeah. So go sell 2 and then take 28 days off and then come back and sell 2 more. You know what I mean?
Right. I get it. Do it.
Yeah.
Sell 2, take some time off. Come back, take some time off. Go do it. It's easy.
Yeah.
And it's easy if you're consistent, right? It's easy if you consistently do the work. Let's talk about relationships in 2 different types of relationships. One is I want to talk about business relationships. 2 is I want to talk about romantic relationship and marriage and how important that is. We've texted about this. Like, I was like, dude, Lee, you got to do a podcast. You got to talk more about this, because I think the thing about marriages is there's not a lot of great examples out there. You know, it's really, really quite interesting. 2018, I mean, I got divorced. I never thought it would happen. Got divorced. Chatty Bazzi, I don't know if you're Chatty. He told me on my podcast, he got divorced. Danny Morell got separated from his wife. So there's some really key leaders in the industry that are going through this. They don't have that shit figured out, clearly, right? But what I've identified is very few leaders and examples that have amazing relationships. So let's talk about that in a second. But let's first discuss how important are relationships inside of your network and your business to be successful and grow.
I think it's extremely important. You know, you got to surround yourself with people that are either doing more than you or are better tin you or have been through those trial and errors that we talked about earlier, so that way you can learn from them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know back in 2012, 2013, when I really wanted to get serious about my business, I like you said, I reached out to you on Facebook because I was watching all your YouTube videos and I wanted to get role play partners that were better than me. Right. And so
was I better than you?
At the time, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but you know, I mean, you're amazing, dude. You know what I mean? And you put your neck out there, you know. So I mean, reaching out to Derek Lipsky, reaching out to you, you guys were the main, basically, YouTube agents out there, putting your neck out there. And so, yeah, I remember reaching out to you because I wanted to improve myself, because you can't get better if you're not surrounded by people that are better than you. You know what I mean? And so I think I hit you up on a private message. You said, bro, I'm too busy. Thanks for the time, or thanks for the message. Good luck.
Did I really say that?
Yeah. And then I went back and I said, no. I want to role play. Put me in your schedule. All right, I'll let you know when I get time. And I hit you up a 3rd time, I think, and finally you threw me in your schedule. And here we are today, you know, 5-6 years later. So that's pretty cool, man. I
had 10 role play partners at that time. So I was talking with Derek, and I was like, Derek, dude, what do I need to do? Because I had like 4 or 5 role play partners. Like, dude, you need 10 role play partners. I'm like, all right, I'll do it. I got 10 role play partners. But hey, we got really good during that time frame. I remember. That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, reaching out to folks like you, you know, I think it's really, really important, because in today's society, we're so scared to reach out to people, whether it be on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, to ask for some sound advice by people that are doing more than us. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so, for instance, you know, one of my mentors here locally in Bakersfield, you know, he and I, we sit down once or twice a month. I mean, this guy's making $6.5 million every single year doing e-commerce, and he's got a great sound business, very humble man, but yet it's, you know, he's not even involved in the real estate business, but he is in sales, right? Yeah. And so, you know, I sit down and network with him. You know, my sales manager 18 years ago, I still take him to lunch, because heck, he's been doing this shit twice as long as I have, and he has one of the largest brokerages here in Bakersfield, and it's very successful. So those are just some, you know, key people in my life that I think that without them, including yourself, you know, and including other people that I network with across the United States, for God's sake, you know what I mean? Because of social media, you know, it's because of those people that has helped me get to where I'm at. It's not where I want to be, but I'm definitely not where I used to be. So.
Right. It's like, so Rob Diedrich talked about it. He was on an interview with Ed Milet, and he says, you've got the optimized version of you, and then while you're working towards that optimized version, you yourself are optimizing. But as you optimize, that optimized version of you is optimizing even more. So you're never actually going to obtain that optimization because you're always transforming. It's like having that flag, and that person you're chasing is your future self, your future best self. But then you have to surround yourself with winners and leaders and people that are, I think, going to be really authentic and okay with their failures and where they've fallen short, because we've got this identity of shame. It's embarrassing to talk about where we've made mistakes and we fucked up. We don't want people to know that. But when we can get open about that and realize, you know what, like, I'm not a bad person. I might have made some mistakes, but am I learning from them to optimize, to become a better me and a better business person, a better leader, and so forth. So let's shift gears now. Oh, wait, hold on. Here's a plug, because he's talking about networking. If you guys want an amazing time to network, April 25th to 27th here in Utah I'm hosting the next WGR Mastermind. I've been hosting Masterminds since 2015. Here's what I've noticed, Lee, is it's easy to make money in real estate. It's pretty easy to become financially free if you do the right management systems. Where people are challenged, though, is enjoying it and like not having to drink away the stress or spend so much money. Like, here's one of my challenges if I go to like a Mike Ferry retreat, is there's people that make a lot of money, but then they spend all their money, right? Like they're always constantly broke. I want to help people enjoy the process, create financial freedom and make the money, but really have the personal fulfillment. I think that's one thing I really honor about you. You're not just like successful financially, but dude, I know you're close with God. I know that you have a spiritual practice. I know that you're connected with your wife, and you ultimately are enjoying every moment of your life. So what's some of the secrets in that, Lee? How do you make that happen? And by the way, information in the comments if you want to apply for the mastermind, the WGRmastermind.com. Lee, so talk to us about that. How do you create that fulfillment in your life?
Yeah, I'll double plug that mastermind. I'm sure it's great. Never been there, but I would love to attend one day. So so basically, again, God's important. You know what I mean? Without Him, we wouldn't be who we are. There's always somebody out there that can take everything that you've ever earned, like that. So therefore, don't act like just, I guess, remain humble. I'm sure you've seen it. I know everybody on this podcast has probably seen it too. But in real estate, you sell one house, and then all of a sudden you got to like open up the door jams in order to get you through the door because your ego has gotten out of control. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's unfortunate because I have seen, and you've seen, a lot of people going through divorces, and it's basically money driven. It's ego driven, and just because you bought a big car, all of a sudden your personality changes. You know what I mean? And again, that car can be taken away from you in two shakes of a lamb's tail. So you got to be very cautious about what your personality style is, and let others, such as your wife, pass judgment upon you to correct you, because they're going to tell you the God honest truth. So with that being said, but I think this is important, right? Enjoy the money that you've earned. Right? Because you have earned that money. And I think one of the biggest relievers of stress for me, and one of the biggest, the happiest moments, right? Because basically we're here on earth. It's like a vapor of time. It's very, very short, right? Yep. And so I think it's really important to me personally to create as many memories for my family as I possibly can, because once I'm gone, I'm gone. And so since I'm here and I'm on earth, I want to be able to create memories with my family. We take our kids everywhere. My wife and I have only been on one vacation without our kids. But the reason why we take our kids is because I want to expose them to what this world has to offer. You went to Rio de Janeiro on a mission when you were younger, right? Yep. But if you had kids, you'd probably want to take them with you, because the culture is so different.
Well, I did in 2014 when I went to the World Cup. I took Harper there.
I remember that.
Bahamas, Costa Rica, Brazil. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, travel, again, that's what I was kind of getting to, is that traveling is such a big thing for me, because, that's what my family and I like to do the most. Number one, it allows me to disconnect from the cell phone, right? Number two, though, is, being able to really, really spend that quality time, having deep connections with my kids and my wife. So like, for instance, I'm taking my daughter to New York, because she's in play, right? She likes doing all these oral language type stuff. So she and her school and myself are going to go to New York for a week. I've never been there, but I'm excited to just be in New York with her. We're going to be in Paris.
Be with her. You said that. Be with her, right? Just be there with her.
Just be there. Yeah, fly on the wall. You know what I mean? And yeah, we went to France for about a month 2 years ago. And in July, we're going to be heading to Spain for about 2.5 weeks. So, you know, and these are things that my wife and I are always talking about. Okay, what are we going to do next? What's this year look like? So on and so
What
forth.
are we
you know.
co-creating? That's freaking
Yes.
cool.
UPW. I want to take her to sometime too.
I will be there in March,
Awesome.
by the way. So
Very
we'll
cool.
see you there. So
Yes.
hey, here's what I want to know from you guys, watching live or replay. Do you have most of your challenge is in your business, which is actually creating cash flow? So put a 1 if that's you. Or is a bigger challenge not making the money, but actually keeping it and creating financial freedom? If that's you, put a 2. Or is it the third, which is you're making money, creating financial freedom, but you're just not really loving life to the fullest. You're not really feeling alive and connected from your core. Put a 3 if that's you, or if it's all of them, put a 4. I'd really love to get some feedback from you. So let's talk about with your wife. You talk about co-creating with her. What are some of the key elements inside of a healthy marriage that allow you guys to create polarity with that masculine and feminine energy, but really honor each other and grow together and co-create, but yet still have your own space to create your own life as well? What are some dynamics with that?
Sure, Colton. You know, again, this morning when we woke up, I go, "Hey, we're getting on a podcast." She goes, "I don't want to do that." I go, "All right, I'll take one. I'll take an L for the team. How's that sound?" So, anyways, yeah, bro. You know, she's my biggest supporter, dude. She's like, she's been in my corner from day one. You know what I mean? Even before I had money, before I had a job. You know, when I was broke, she was in my corner, you know, and I think that's something that's needs to be said, because of the fact that she didn't marry me for my money or my resources, because she loved me before I had anything, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I think that's pretty important. But, you know, honestly, you know, some key factors that we roll into is that, you know, first off, we don't keep score when we're arguing, you know what I mean? It's not I got to win this argument, or she's got to win this argument, you know, because when you're keeping score, then somebody's always going to lose, you know. Mm-hmm. But typically both of you lose, you know. There's never ever a winner, you know what I mean? And so we always focus on that. We never argue in front of the kids. I mean, we rarely argue, to be honest with you. If we do argue,
but there is conflict. There is conflict that comes up. How do you process through that conflict that comes up between you and your spouse?
Well, I mean, you know, basically we talk about it, you know, so she can hold a grudge until I break the grudge. Yeah. But me, on the other hand, I'm the polar opposite, right? I can't stand a grudge. And so therefore, you know, if there is a disagreement or a conflict, then I'm the one typically picking up the slack in order to make a resolution for this. And so basically, you know, I just throw myself on her and hug her. And then basically, because I know her love language, right? It's touch. Yeah. So I'm going to touch the hell out of her, and she's like, all right, I give up. You know what I mean? And that's something important for all those people out there that have a spouse and are curious to get deeper in love with their wife or their husband, is learn their love language. Because if you don't know it, then, you know, you could be doing the complete opposite. Gifts are not her love language. If I were to be in a dispute or trying to, you know, make ends or make everything right with her, if I were to go off and buy her flowers, she's going to say, did you keep the receipt? You know what I mean? It's not going to resonate well with her. So, yeah, you know, so since I know her love language, I just practice that, you know.
So you practice her love language. You had to first identify her love language, and you had to be willing to surrender the fight a little bit and 100%. Realize, like, what is the purpose of being right or being wrong? You know, T. Harv used to say, you can be right or you can be happy. You can't be both. Right? You got to make a choice. And that's what I found out in relationships. And I'm by far not an expert, but I would say over the last year and a half, I've learned way more about relationships than the previous 30-something years of my life. And that's principally because I was kind of forced into that because I didn't take a conscious effort ahead of time to deal with that. So let's talk about God now. And how does God play with your relationship, your business, but also your relationship with your wife?
Well, I mean, I tell you what, Colton, that's one of the first things that I got into practice. My mentor that I mentioned earlier that I sit down with, you know, he's actually the one that really got me into implementing that into my morning routine. You know, my morning routine wasn't God first in the morning. You know, it was basically cell phone first, and then you know, whatever.
Email, yep.
Yeah, email.
How many of you guys get up first thing and you're on your phone, checking social media, checking email, checking text message, checking something, how many of you have that on when you wake up in the first 15 minutes and when you go to bed in the last 15 minutes? The number is astonishingly, it's something like 80% of modern society will have their phone in their hand in the first 15 and the last 15 minutes of the day.
I believe it. No, I'm 100% because I'm guilty of it myself, you know. So Ed Milet also mentioned this, but my mentor also mentioned this too, is that you know, he I think he had a podcast on there where he challenged people to take a 30-minute break when you wake up and don't even look at your cell phone, but go through your morning routine. And God is one of those, and I've implemented that rule. So 30 minutes after waking up, you know, I jump into, you know, the prayer and the exercise and the gratitude and daily affirmations and so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean, you know, God in Himself. Here's the thing: is this okay? So for me personally, this is how I wake up with God, right? Because basically, I think it's important to, if you're going to pray to whoever you believe in, it's important to pray in silence. You know what I mean? Because then you have a deeper connection with that prayer. Right? So if you've already been looking at your phone or that email, that's kind of in the back of your head. It's already kind of bugging the hell out of you. And then you want to jump into prayer. Well, guess what? It's just not as intimate as it ought to be. You know what I mean?
Or it could be.
Or it could be, right? So my advice to anybody out there, you know, what I do personally is basically the second I wake up, the room's dark, you know, it's 4:30, 5. And basically, I just jump right into my gratitudes. I just start thinking specifically what I'm most grateful for in the past 24 hours. Okay. Yeah. Secondly is I pray. You know, and I pray. Again, prayer doesn't have to be 15 minutes or 20 minutes. God already knows what you need. God already knows what's in store for you. So really, it's just, you know, I'm going to pray. I'm going to give Him thanks, but more importantly, I'm going to praise Him in the beginning of the prayer. I'm going to thank Him during that prayer, and then I may ask Him for something that I might need. Typically, I don't, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So gratitude is the language of God. It sounds like appreciation, thankfulness, and you know, I do something similar. First 10, right away I say, who are 10 people I'm grateful for and why, and I identify 10 people I'm grateful for and why I'm grateful for them. The other thing that I do before I really dive into prayer is I actually go through breathing exercise and meditations. And the reason why is it actually silences. I don't know if you have a conversation in your head, Lee. Sometimes there's these voices going off in my head. I don't know what the fuck they are, but they're there. But then through meditation, I'll silence them to where I can actually connect more with that source of God, that love and that peace and that tranquility. When you look at I'm not religious. I spent a lot of years, obviously, in the Mormon church. I'm not religious, but there's something that comes from the Prince of Peace, Jesus Christ. You know, it's in the Bible. Peace and tranquility is something that I think all realtors really want to experience and business owners. But by show of hands, how many of you guys experience more stress in your life than peace? Put a yes in the comments down below if that's you. Surprisingly enough, most people are experiencing 70% of their week in a negative state of emotion, which if you're in that negative state, you look at the Garden of Eden, Eve partook of the fruit. Adam followed afterwards. When Jesus and God came, they said, where are you guys? They said, we hid ourselves because we were naked and afraid. That fear, that scarcity will disconnect us from the source, energy, and connection of truth and light, love, which is God. And when you do activities like being able to breathe and meditate and pray and connect with God, that's consciously creating not just a prayer in that moment, but an unceasingly amount of prayer throughout the day.
It creates happiness throughout the day too, and peace.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, like for instance, Colton, you know, again, I'm not religious either. I'm fearful of religious people because, I don't know, you know, that's for a whole nother story. But, you know, but what I am is I'm a God-fearing person, right? I understand that there is somebody bigger and better out there than I am. And again, I have to give Him that gratitude. And so, you know, another thing that my wife and I have done to keep our relationship strong is we attended our third marriage retreat this weekend in Ventura, California, right?
That's
and
cool.
it's beautiful, man. You know, like you know, it's 2 full days of married couples talking about the real stuff, you know, and you know, and plus, gosh, man, there's no kids and we have a hotel room. And you can only imagine what's taking place, you know, for these types.
Sex happened there, ladies and gentlemen.
But, you know, I mean, coming back, man, we're like, you know, our roots are connected again. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, you know, obviously it's normal, especially in our business, being entrepreneurs and real estate agents, that there can be an easy disconnection between you and your spouse, especially if you're not pouring in gratitude into your life and praying and meditating and breathing, right? Because if you're not doing that, then you have all the stress in your chest, then you show up at home, and guess who gets to get the bun into that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and typically that person gets worse. So here's what I found out from my experience is if one person is open but the other one's closed off, there's still no connection, because it's like we calcify our hearts and we can't let light in because we are afraid. We do have this, for whatever reason, we have this shame factor. And we've created an identity of shame versus an identity of love. But when we do things like having these powerful rituals in our morning routine, we restructure our neural pathways to believe we actually are loved. We actually are worthy. And when we can do that, we can have compassion. We can have compassion for other people, that no matter how fucked up you are in your life, because I know you've done mistakes, I still love you. I have zero judgment, because if you like, the more you find out about me and I'm still a worthy person, you're definitely worthy, right? So it's just helping this idea of worthiness, and that you are worth it. You are worth success in your business. You are worth success financially, with your health, success with a relationship. But at the other point, like God's gonna lay the plan out and the path out, but you got to take the step in faith, right? There's a little unknown space of uncertainty that you got to walk. So how do you deal with that space of uncertainty in your life?
I just do it. You know, it's called blank face. You know, I mean, yeah, there might be some uncertainty, but you're not going to be certain until you do it. And it doesn't matter what you're going to do. I mean, whether it's, you know, I don't know, pick up the phone and dial, or whether it's knocking on that door, or whether it's asking that girl out on a date. You know, you don't know. You can't be certain until you try it. Right. And then if you fail, well, then you do it again, and do it again. And do it again.
And do it again. And hopefully each time you learn and do it a little bit differently, right? Like you don't walk in off the same ledge. You walk off a different ledge the next time, hopefully.
Yeah, correct, Mundo.
Rejection is a pretty important part of being in business, because you've probably been rejected, I'm sure. Have you ever been rejected, Lee?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
How do you deal with that rejection?
It's easy. I mean, you know, again, you get used to rejection in sales if you consistently and repeatedly do the same things day in, day out, which is prospecting or lead generation, right? Right. So, and I'm just talking about business. You know, rejection with females. I've known my wife since she was 13, so I haven't had a whole lot of experience with that. So I can't help anybody out there with that. But with you know, in sales though, right? So you know, in rejection, they're not rejecting you. All they're doing is rejecting what you have to offer them, right? So you cannot sit there and take it personal, you know. And by you getting rejected, rejection is only just steps taking you closer to a non-rejection. You know, somebody who's going to say yes. So if you have a number of different no's, I mean, let's face it, in real estate, in any type of outbound sales, it's a numbers-based game. You know what I mean? So you have to play the numbers game, you know, and part of the numbers game is getting rejected time and time again until you get what you want, you know. And so here we go. If somebody rejects me, it's like this. Somebody rejects me, right? It's not going to penetrate me, though. It's going to deflect off me. But it's not going to penetrate me, because when you allow it to penetrate you, then guess what? Then you take it personal. Then you get all butthurt, and
you cry and you blame. You become the victim. How many of you guys watching live or replay have challenges with being rejected? Like you emotionally let it bother you? Put a 1 in the comments if you get that way with rejection. You've probably been rejected by. My guess is you've been rejected by people that have quit your company, right? Someone says, "Hey, Lee, you know what? I'm going over to Miramar, bro. I'm out of here," right? Yep. How do you deal with that type of rejection? What do you learn from that situation?
Well, I tell you what, because again, I never even had an agent leave our company until we started our company. So
really strange how that works.
Right. So, you know, it's funny, but you know, I really took it personally. The first few agents that left my company, because I felt that I invested everything I could into them. And it just wasn't enough, you know what I mean? Yep. But since then, again, I've learned to take it less personal, right? Because what I realized is that people come and people go. And here's the thing is that I remember when I first started my company, I had a conversation with Mike Ferry, and I told him, look, I need one piece of advice, okay? And I said, I'm starting my own brokerage, and what is your best piece of advice to give me? He goes, do you like oxygen? I said, yeah. He goes, Mike Ferry says, well, do you need it to stay alive? I said, yeah. He goes, can you live without it? I said, no. He goes, recruiting is the oxygen of a real estate company. 80% of the people that you hire are eventually going to leave. 20% of them are going to wind up being lifers. So therefore, you have to expect people to continuously leave your company. Some of them will come back. Some of them won't. But it all depends on your delivery when they decide to leave. You know, and I thought about that, and it made a whole lot of sense, you know. And so, yeah, you're right. Agents, not only when I'm trying to recruit an agent, there's rejection involved, but also when they leave, there's rejection involved because they're rejecting what we do here or what our fees are or whatever the story is. And basically, you know, I've treated it a lot differently since my first few experiences in the beginning. So I definitely learned a lot. Yeah.
So let's look at where your business is today. You have your brokerage, and with your brokerage, what is your setup? Do you got how many agents are in your organization? What's your goal for the year? What are you guys looking to build and create?
Sure, man. So so this year, basically, well, last year we sold 367 houses, roughly with about 27, 28 agents. This year, our goal is to close 528 transactions. We want to keep that number just below 35 agents. And so, you know, basically, if we can keep it below 35, then we'll get closer to that 24 per agent production. That is the big goal. And the per agent production for this year, I want to get it to about 17.5 per agent, which is basically midway between where we're at and where we need to go. But yeah, that's basically the goal. You know, we're not looking to hire 1,000 agents like, you know, KW offices where they have the most agents in the world, but the least production.
Number one company on the planet with agents that have sell production per agent. But you know what's cool about Keller Williams? They got some awesome fucking technology, bro. They got some awesome technology. Yeah, we have to kudos to them to that. So your goal is to have 35 agents producing 2 deals per month, which would be, what is that, 70 deals a month is what we want to be closing per month, which would be.
It's not going to happen this year, though. It might. That's probably going to be next year's goal, if anything.
Okay. That's what you'd like to get it to.
Correct, yeah.
Cool. Awesome, man. What else would you like to say to these guys before we start to wrap it up, my man?
Just, yeah, you know, I guess, you know, thanks for watching. I hope this poured into somebody out there that may have needed to hear about anything about relationships or rejection or anything like that. But if you guys want to reach out to me, I am an extrovert, I am an expressive, and I love to share everything that's in my brain to folks like you. So if you guys want to reach out, feel free to give me a call at 661-213-6857, or you can hit me up on Facebook where I happen to find Colton Lindsay. So
awesome. All right, Lee, I appreciate you being here. Thanks for being on again, my man. We'll talk to you soon.
Peace, brother. See ya.
All right, gang, there you have it, Lee Barrison. I've loved watching his success since 2013, going from 96 units to obviously on track for over 300 units. So he's doing something right with his business. So that's really cool. But what I love about that is he just didn't do it smooth and easy. I think as men out there, I can't speak for you women, but for us men out there, some of us have this belief that we can live a life without any problems or challenges. And the moment that I realized, wait a second, I can't outwork my problems, I can't outwork my challenges, I got to face them head on. And that's the moment that all of my problems became my best friends, because I fell in love with that moment. I fell in love with that experience. And I actually grew as a person, as a business owner, as a man. And part of that means my standards raise. And when my standards raise, there's a fine line right there that you're either on my side or you're not on my side. I don't fucking care which one you do, but this is the direction I'm going. This is where we have to polarize our life, our business, our finances. And when we create that polarity, people are going to make their choices. They're either with you or they're not. And that's totally fine either way. But when we can attract the people that support us and we can support similar people, all of a sudden we elevate to a next level with our business, with our finances, with our personal fulfillment. Making money is easy. Closing deals is easy. Creating financial freedom is easy. Most of y'all just suck at it because you can't manage your fucking money. But creating that personal fulfillment, it's a very challenging place because our mind is telling a story that we need to seek other people's approvals. We need to get other people to be okay with how we do things. There's only one person that needs to be okay with how you do stuff. That's yourself. You got to prove of yourself right now. For those of you guys want to join me in Utah, April 25th to 27th, go fill out your mastermind application, www.thewgrmastermind.com. What we're going to be talking there is some of the skill set and strategies to grow your business, because that is important. We're going to also be diving in deep with the psychology and the emotional state required to not only build your business, to not only create financial freedom, but to have more peace and joy and aliveness. And I want you to really think about that. If you're saying one day I'm going to have that, you've already fucked up, because that day has got to be right now. Each day that passes by is a compound effect. It's either working for you or against you. It's literally scientifically creating neural pathways into your nervous system that are strengthening to either have a habit of scarcity and of fear and of lack and of not enough, or you're putting in the belief that you're more than enough and that money flows to you in avalanches of abundance, that life is awesome, and it depends on what you choose. And the tipping point doesn't happen in a moment. It's not like all of a sudden you're like, I made it, woo, look at me. It's all of a sudden you'll look back, you're like, man, look at all the ground I've covered, and yet still, there's where I'm going. And I love this moment because this moment is all I got. So go check it out. Appreciate y'all being here. Make sure if you guys watch this live, you dropped an L. If you're one of my replayers, drop an R. Hit that share button, and I appreciate your support in the WGR. If you know anyone buying or selling real estate in Utah, you better call us. Send them our way. I love sending you guys referrals. Also, check out fearlessagent.com and anything else we can do with the WGR Academy. We're here for you. We'll see you later.